So 5 months postpartum. And I think it's time we finally talk about the birth story of how we got to have a baby and how none of it went how we thought it was gonna go at all. And we're all super okay with that, aren't we? Yeah. Where should we start? Yeah. Yeah, I guess. Huh? Yeah. So, yeah, I guess I should start with like the swelling. I had a lot of swelling, like a lot. Like I was 102 pounds before I got pregnant, and by the time I was 37 weeks, I was 170, maybe 175 pounds. So I had gained some weight, but I also had a ton of swelling. I have photos somewhere. I would love to put the photos in the video. So I will try to get those photos to put them in the video because they're pretty rad. I looked like a cartoon character. But I had a ton of swelling, but I'd been monitoring my blood pressure at home. I never had any issues with blood pressure. A week before we ended up having the baby, so at 36 weeks, I went into the hospital and they actually monitored me. They monitored me for, I think, like 2 hours. Freddie's in the background somewhere. When we went in to get monitored, it was like a 2-hour monitoring the week before, right? Okay, maybe 1 hour. Felt like 2. But they monitored me for an entire hour at least, just us hanging out in a room. No red flags, no blood pressure spiking, baby's heart rate was great. So everything was fine. I just had a lot of swelling. I was exercising. I literally went to the gym like a couple days before we were gonna have a baby, like the week before or something. I was still going to the gym. I was walking. I walked the night that we ended up going to the hospital. We walked around the entire lake because we have a lake behind our house. It's got a little like path. So that lake is like 0.6 miles, I think. So we walked that entire lake, no issues with the dog. Everything was fine. I ended up, at some point, I'd been monitored because I felt like I had a lot of swelling and I was scared the baby had not moved as much as I was used to. But they monitored, and like during the monitoring, she was like having a party. So everything seemed very fine and on track. Everything was great. And then at 37 weeks, we had just packed, a toot. Good job. We had just packed the hospital bag. I literally had just gotten in a bunch of the stuff that I'd ordered because I packed this hospital bag. I spent like weeks researching hospital bag stuff. I honestly overpacked. I'm gonna do a whole different video on the hospital bag and what I think you actually need for a hospital bag, because I think you get influenced into a lot of stuff, and like I didn't use any of the stuff. I had my postpartum stuff. I'm so happy I actually listened to whoever it was on YouTube from the million videos I watched that was like just concentrate on postpartum when you get home. So I was like so happy I concentrated on that, and I was very happy I packed stuff for Freddie so that he would be like able to be in the hospital and not die or feel like he was dying. So he had like snacks and clothes and a blanket and a pillow. But for me, I think I even wore the same clothes I went in with. Yeah, I did. I packed like a whole set of clothes. I packed like no, I was happy I packed for her because our hospital ended up not having like baby clothes. So I was happy I packed stuff for her because she ended up being cold. But Other than that, I didn't use anything of mine. I spent the entire time in a hospital gown. Yeah, I did. I did. So, what ended up happening was that we had just packed the hospital bag. That night, I went to sleep, everything was fine, and I started having a lot of pain, like really, really low pain. And no, it's me. I squeaked it. I started having really low pain, like down under, where I hadn't really had pain before, and it was really sharp, like, I don't know how to describe it, but it was like a sharp, intense pain, like more than a cramp. And I just had this gut feeling that something was wrong, but I kept like changing positions. I couldn't go to sleep. I kept just waking up. So from like, I want to say from like 2, 3 in the morning until like 6, I was basically like trying to talk myself out of everything, was like something was wrong to like everything's fine. I'm just, you know, and I was like trying to see if I was having contractions, and like the pain would come, and I was trying to time it, and I could have sworn it was like getting close to like every 5 minutes, but then there'd be like a gap. And so I was confused, and I didn't know what to do. I waited until like 6 in the morning, and then between like 6 and 8, I called my mom, and I was like, hey, I'm probably gonna drop the dog off because I'm probably gonna go to the hospital. I'm gonna talk to my doctor. And she was like, talk to your doctor, we're here if you need us. So I called my doctor, I explained what was going on, and she was like, look, what you're describing to me could be labor pain, but it's hard to tell. I recommend you just go to the hospital. The worst that could happen is they send you home, and it's no big deal. I'm like, all right, you're right. You know what? Let's just go to the hospital. So we pack up the dog at like 6 in the morning. We dump him at my parents' with absolutely nothing, fully expecting to come home. We go home. We drop the dog off. Then we go from the dog getting dropped off to the hospital. And we're at the hospital super early. All the nurses are like, oh, you're a first-time mom, aren't you? I'm like, yeah. And they're like, oh, you know, this happened. So they're like, we're just gonna monitor you and make sure everything's fine. So they put all this stuff, and they're like monitoring, and they're like, yeah, you're having contractions, but they're not labor contractions. So, you know, you're probably gonna go home. I was like, okay. I'm in pain, but I'm like, all right, at least everything's okay. So I'm like expecting to go home. Freddie and I are looking at each other. We've been there, I don't know, we'd been there for like a few hours at that point, a couple hours. We're like, all right, we're going home. It's gonna be fine. And then like a nurse and a doctor come in, from what I remember. Correct me from over there if I'm wrong. But I'm pretty sure that they monitored us for a couple hours, and then a doctor and a nurse come in, and they're like, oh, have you always been this swollen? And I'm like, I've always been this swollen. And Freddie's like, no, she got really swollen in the last couple days. She wasn't this swollen. She was swollen, but not as dramatic as this. And they were like, all right, we're just gonna make a call to your doctor, and we're gonna see what they want to do. I'm like, okay, that's fine. And I'm thinking, my doctor knows I'm swollen. They saw me last week. Like, they had seen me a few days before that. So, like, a while passes, they come back, and they're like, hey, so your doctor's gonna come in, we're gonna talk to them, because it's like their day to be here or something. So don't worry, you know, we're just waiting to see what they say. So we're just gonna keep monitoring you until then. And I'm like, cool, no problem. Just hanging out. And then at some point they come in and they're like, all right, so we're gonna admit you. And I'm like, huh? And they're like, yeah, we're gonna admit you. And then I'm like looking at them, and I'm like, so like admit, like we're gonna. They're like, yeah. And Freddie's looking at me, he's like, because we're fully thinking we're gonna go home. And they're basically like, yeah, we're gonna admit you to have a baby. And he's like, to like have a baby? I'm like, yeah. So at that point, I'm very happy that we got the hospital bag packed. Oh, I'm sorry. What happened? Ah. What happened to you? So they admit us. And at this point, baby's in the position for a natural birth, and I really wanted a natural birth. I mean, not really, but like, I would have preferred a natural birth, I think. Because I'd always been told cesarean was like super invasive and all this stuff. And there were all these benefits to natural birth. So I was like, all right, I would like to shoot for natural birth. So they induced me. That was the most intense pain I have ever felt in my life. I'm not a fan of being induced. I don't know if I would do that again. That might have been the only borderline traumatic thing. Not even really. It was just really painful. I just probably wouldn't do it again. I think it was also that we weren't as far along. So like, maybe if my body had actually started to have labor contractions, the induction wouldn't have been so bad. But I think because we were basically trying to induce early, my body was not a fan. Not a fan. So we induce. What time? Do you remember what time we induced at?
1 or 2.
Right? In the afternoon?
No,
in the morning? Oh yeah. Yeah, it was in the morning. I forgot. Yeah, so they do this induction stuff like at 1 or... No, it was earlier, because that first induction was like 12 hours. At 1 or 2, they were gonna do the second... I don't know. We were basically in this whole like inducing, waiting for dilation and all this for like 12 plus hours. It was like an overnight thing. So like all night, I'm having like pains that I think are contractions, and I'm having a lot of blood, and I'm like, hey, you guys, there's a lot of blood, and they're like, it's normal. I'm like, great, thanks. It's good to know. I don't know, whatever. That wasn't great, but I end up, like, I was trying to hold off on the epidural in case it was like better later or something, but at some point I was in so much pain and I couldn't sleep, and I knew that I needed to rest because there's like it's like different phases of labor, and there's like one where you should rest, and then there's like active labor where you should be awake, and I was like, I should rest till we get there. So I get this epidural. I just can't take it anymore, and I pass out, and when I wake up, they're like, hey, how's it going? So we're gonna do a, it's not even like they're like, we have to do a C-section, okay? So we're gonna get you prepped for that. And I was like, okay. So I knew that something, like if they're telling me that we have to do a C-section, something is wrong. I didn't know until later how that was gonna, like, what was it that triggered? But it turned out that my blood pressure was shooting up and her heart rate was going down. Like, basically they told me, like, as we're getting ready for the C-section, that my body's showing signs of like super going into labor. Like, these are signals that they see when the baby's like about to come out, but my body, I was not dilated, like we were not ready for baby to come out. So she was basically starting to go into like distress, or there's like a term for it and I don't remember. If I remember, I'll try to put it, or get ready to put it on the screen. So they do that, they start prepping us, and it just felt very matter of fact, and I think that helped a lot. I think I knew I was always open to something like this happening. I was a C-section baby, my sisters were C-section babies. Like, a lot of women I know have had C-sections. Obviously, I get where a natural birth is less invasive, but I also understand, like, if you're in a situation that a C-section is necessary, you can't beat yourself up for that. And I think a lot of women like sit there and like there's some weird thing on social media, like where you should guilt yourself or like you should feel bad you did a C-section. Like, I don't know. It's not that big. Like, especially for an emergency C-section, you should not care about social media and what they say. The truth is, like in my case, I needed to do a C-section or me and baby were going to have serious problems, and we avoided a lot of serious issues because I wasn't dilating, she was going into distress, and I ended up having, so I missed, after my C-section, they like brought her to me, and I didn't know C-sections were like this. I had to like hold on to, because it's just local. Like, I did know that, but it's so weird when it's actually happening to you. It's just local, like anesthesia, where they're cutting you open and stuff. And then there's just all these big blue, like, they make it so you can't see and everything's sterile and stuff. So you're just hanging out, and then like, I had to like just hold on to these handles. I didn't realize like that was gonna be my job. I don't remember, I'm sure they strapped me down also, but just remember my hands being out. It feels very like, I don't know, like, oh, what happened? It felt like I was gonna be a meal. Like, I don't know why. I had serious kitchen vibes. Does that make sense? I think Freddie has his headphones. He's checked out of this. That I didn't know during the C-section that I was gonna end up having to hold on. I don't remember if I held on to these handles or I'm like 99% sure they strapped my hands down. Yeah, but it felt very, like I felt like when you're preparing something for a meal. Huh? Yeah, but I'm the pig. Like when you're gonna stuff a turkey or something. It just, I don't know, that was the first thing I thought of about to go into my C-section. So I'm strapped to this table, hands out to the side, and I'm feeling them because it's really weird. Everything is numb, you can't feel, but they tell you, they're like, you're gonna feel this like pressure because we're moving things. Because they have to like open you and they have to like move things to get to the baby. So like you actually feel them like moving things around, which is its own feeling that if one day I can describe, I will. But right now, all I can think is like, it just feels weird. Like, just imagine they're moving your insides out of the way. Yay, what happened? Are you getting tired of turning? Well, you haven't flipped over. We're working on turning. She doesn't like to turn by herself. She likes for me to do her legs. Yay. So, they're moving all my organs around. They get to the baby, they cut, and then I hear her, she's out, it's great. They're like cleaning her up, they're starting to sew me back together. Hi. My memory gets kind of mixed up here, but they like bring her to me. She's like wrapped up. I have this really cute photo. We'd also like to put it here somewhere over the whole thing. I don't know. But really cute photo of us three because Freddie's in there. I'm like ahead, and she's just like, they press her against me for our quick skin to skin because I didn't realize this was gonna be it. This was like the most skin to skin I was gonna get for a while. So they like put her against my face, and Freddie's there. We take a quick photo. He had cut the umbilical cord. He did a great job. And then I don't remember. We had already prepped before all of this. Like I had told him in an emergency, like just always go with the baby. I don't know why. I'd seen so many stupid horror stories, and I know that hospitals have all these precautions to make sure your baby doesn't get mixed up or disappear. There's just something about, bless you. There's something about being a first-time mom that you're just like, just stay with the baby. And probably an all-time mom. I don't know that I'm ever going to tell you not to follow the baby around the hospital.
Well, yeah.
So, Freddie goes with the baby, and they're like sewing me up, and that took forever. And the anesthesia was like wearing off as they're like sewing me up, and I was like, guys, this is like uncomfortable. And they're like, we're almost done. And so they finish, and I get wheeled away, and they take me into like the recovery area, and I fall asleep, and I'm like, great, I'm gonna wake up, and then I'll go see the baby. But then I wake up, and I'm like, hey, do I get to go see the baby now? And they're like, no, not yet. You have to go back to sleep. And I'm like, why? They're like, you just have to go back to sleep, okay? So I like go to my little IV, and they like do something, and I like get really tired, and I'm assuming that they upped what I didn't know at the time was my magnesium. So at that point, the baby. At that point, I start my magnesium treatment because my blood pressure after the surgery did not, in fact, go down. My blood pressure stayed high. I forgot what the blood pressure maximum is or whatever, but they were basically like, you're like a heartbeat away. You're like one exciting thing away from having like a seizure or something, or worse maybe. So I was like, oh great. Okay. So I mean, it took me waking up multiple times and asking if I could see the baby yet before they were like, you can't, because your blood pressure hasn't gone down and we can't release you from this recovery area until your blood pressure is at least lower than what it is right now. Because right now it's really, really high. So at this point, I'm just like hanging out in this recovery area, and Freddie has no idea what is happening. He just knows he's followed the baby down to like the area that they're like, the baby's behind a window, and they're like bathing her, and they're giving her like vitamin K shot. No, did they do that then? I don't know. They're doing some stuff to her. They're putting her little ankle and stuff. They're getting her footprint. He's like watching her. My mom is there. His mom is there. My dad. Like there's a bunch of people, like a bunch of family. We had already like sent out messages because I knew I wanted family to come visit us in the hospital. I get that's not everyone's jive, but I'm very close with our family, so I did want our family to come see the baby. So everybody was welcome, and like we kind of were like sending messages out. My parents knew, his parents knew. So yeah, from there we expected them to do the work. So madam, you can't put this in your mouth. Okay, you can play with that. So he's like sitting there, and he's like waiting for them to basically tell him where I am, and nobody's telling him anything, and a bunch of time passes. I have no idea how much time passes. It'd probably be good to get Freddie's perspective on this. You want to say anything about this? So he said from far away, because microphone, there's no way the microphone caught that. He said he was scared, and Ben was unaware. Because, huh? That's okay. The baby's playing, so I have no idea what quality this is gonna be like. So Freddie's just scared, and at some point, I had my phone with me. I discovered I had my phone with me. So I don't remember, did I text you? Or you text me? Huh? Oh, okay. Yeah, the nurse let you go back there? Okay, the nurse finally let Freddie come see me. That's how I got my phone? So So yeah, so I guess that's how it worked. The nurse finally let Freddie, because I think, why don't you come over here? Just because I wasn't with you when this happened.
I was with your mama.
Yeah.
And you don't have to move it. Now it's gonna be all moved.
It's okay. It's not the end of the world.
It's the end of the world.
Oh no. Hi, Ben. Sweet little.
I was with your mama. She was freaking out. I was acting like I'm not freaking out. Because they all like to freak out. And we keep asking the nurse lady when we can see you, and they said not yet. And that was like an hour at least. And then she finally let us go back.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you and Mom, I saw both of you at some point.
Yeah, but only one at a time.
Okay.
Because we didn't want to stress you out.
I didn't know. It turns out that I was like that close to well, I do this, but it's true. I was, it's like 160 over 90 or something, or I don't remember. But I was at like 159 over 90 or something. So the nurse was like, you're literally like one heartbeat away. You're one little jolt of excitement away from a problem. So I get it. If I have the numbers wrong, it was that close. So I finally see Freddie, I finally see my mom, I get my phone somehow. Everybody's happier once I have my phone because I'm like able to call people. So I get discharged. I have absolutely no concept of time of when I got discharged because I've started at this point the magnesium treatment. And this magnesium is so strong that all it does is it just makes you relaxed and tired. And so I'm basically asleep for like giant chunks of time, and I'd wake up and fall asleep. And I'm thinking this is gonna be fine. I'm just gonna bounce back, and in a couple hours, we're just gonna proceed. No, it turns out this magnesium treatment is a 24-hour treatment for me. We don't even get to leave the labor and delivery department the first day because they can't do the magnesium treatment up in the nursery area that they call it, which is like where all the moms go to hang out with their babies and recover. So for the first 24 hours, I'm in the labor and delivery room. They've now wheeled me back into the room. They bring Freddie. I finally get to see the baby, and they tell us, They tell us that while I'm on the magnesium treatment, I can't be alone with the baby. So we had already planned on Freddie being there, but if Freddie hadn't been able to be there with me, she would have had to go up. I wouldn't have been able to breastfeed, and she would have had to be up in the nursery area with the nurses and like the other babies for 24 hours until I could see her. But thankfully, we already had planned on Freddie being there with me, so he basically like had to do everything at the beginning, because for the first 24 hours, I'm literally bedbound because of this magnesium treatment. I'm on like a catheter. I can't get out of bed. So he's bringing the baby anytime it's time to breastfeed. I'm sleeping a lot because my heart rate's still high and they're trying to lower it. Anytime she had a diaper change, he was changing her and swaddling her. And like if he had to change her clothes or anything, he was doing basically everything for the baby. So I was really happy that we had packed. Okay. Relax. We're gonna take care of that in a second. I was really happy we had packed stuff for Freddie so that he'd be comfortable. He was able to do, and again, I want to do a hospital bag breakdown, but he was able to do skin to skin with the stuff we took. He was warm. If it was warm, he had shorts. Like, I really think he was comfortable. He had a blanket, he had a pillow. So he was actually able to rest in between. Like, I'm not going to tell you it was like a full rest because he was still sleeping on basically like the sofa, the hospital pull-out couch. I'm not gonna tell you it's like a 5-star hotel, but he at least got more rest than if we would have not packed for him.
It was cold.
It was freezing. It was freezing. So, actually it was funny. It was freezing in the labor and delivery, but then when we got back, no, it was freezing upstairs too. It was freezing everywhere, wasn't it? It was freezing everywhere. Like on the last day, one of the nurses was like, why is your room so cold? Did you know you had a thermostat in here? I was like, that would have been really good to ask. So after the magnesium treatment, thankfully I was able to breastfeed. She latched. Everything was great. Notes on breastfeeding. I'd never breastfed before. I was not a breastfed baby, so I was very open to like formula if we had to. And she wasn't latching any of the ways that the nurses wanted me to put her, and I'm really happy. So the lactation consultant that we had in the hospital was like super cool, and basically our baby like latched on like a little frog. She just like wanted this very specific position. She didn't like football holds. She didn't like any of the other holds, whatever. If it had a hold in it, she didn't like it. She just did her own thing, and the nurse was just like, hey, if that's the way she wants to latch, you do you. Let her, as long as she's drinking, she's fine. And you know what? 5 months later and a 20-pound baby, I'm here to tell you that you don't have to do the football hold or the whatever hold or the carry or the reverse carry or whatever they call it. Just, if your baby's comfortable, let them latch however they're gonna latch. They're gonna be fine. They're gonna figure it out. You're gonna figure it out. It might not be the most comfortable in the beginning, but you're gonna get your groove. And as they get older, they get better, and you get to like change their position more. So don't stress out. And honestly, I think just don't stress out about it totally anyway. I didn't get my golden hour. I didn't get to have her latch on in the first hour of her being born or anything like that. And she still latched. I still produced. We still bonded. If she had had to do formula, I would have been fine with it too, because she would be fine. She would be eating. I would have had her fed. Formula would just be a different journey. Freddie would be more involved with the feedings. Like right now, because she's just breastfed, at this point, we messed up. We had her on the bottle for a while and everything was great. And then at some point we accidentally dropped the bottle that we were doing a day, and now she just doesn't care for the bottle. So she's just exclusively breastfed by accident. I'm not here to promote that. It's just the way it worked out for us. So I mostly do all the night stuff and all the feedings, and Freddie helps me during the day a lot with like diaper changes and like helping me if I need a break or something. And then he sleeps more through the night, even though she sleeps in our room, so she still wakes him up. We had a little like bassinet. I honestly will probably do also a video on things that we actually use and like, and things that we were influenced into buying that we ended up not barely using, because they really, like, I think one of the worst things you could do is go on YouTube like I did, and like out of excitement look for like the best things to have with your first time baby. Like there's so much stuff, and at the end of the day it's like sometimes the simplest stuff is the best. Like we just got a normal bassinet. She sleeps in her bassinet. She does a lot of contact naps during the day. Sleeps great at night. She sleeps in her bed at night, no complaints. Just a bunch of stuff. But for the sake of not having this video be 3 hours long and like totally a bazillion topics, I just thought it was a good time to finally come out with our birth story, since it's like C-section month or something. So I was like, all right, I mean, I got a C-section. Only thing I've done different that I thought I'd be working out by now, truthfully, I've really just leaned into the slowdown. I've just leaned into this whole mom thing, especially because at 3 months I tried working out. I ended up having like fever for like 2 days. My body wasn't crazy about it. I overdid it. And I just said, you know what? Screw it. I'm not gonna do it. I don't care. I don't care about this idea that you have to like snap back, or like I have to be at my birth weight, or I don't know, like, or my pre-birth weight or whatever. I'm not worried about any of that stuff. I'm just leaning into this mom thing. I'm spending as much time with the baby. I love to spend time with her. Like, we go for walks. Probably gonna do one today if it's not pouring rain, even though it looks like it is. So maybe she'll just do a nap. Aww. Hey, you, I gotta change a diaper. Can you help me? Papa's gonna do a diaper change on you. Come on, good job. Sweet. Yeah. So, I just thought this video, it's been a while since I've been on camera, so honestly, I know I'm gonna have to brush up and work on talking on video, but I just wanted this to be as natural as possible. One, because I don't know. I don't have it in me right now to get fixed up for a video. But I think this is cool. Like, I really wanted to capture my thoughts on stuff now, while it's fresh, because like years from now, I'm gonna forget. Like, I already forgot how swollen I was when I was pregnant. I forgot. And you just forget, I think, because like genetically your body's like, we should make more babies. And I'm like, yes. I didn't know I'd have to wait like 1.5 to 2 years. They recommend that with C-section because there's a lot of scar tissue and it can affect the formation of the next baby. So we'll be waiting. And honestly, that's fine with me too. I was sad, I think more hormonal sad about it at the beginning, because I was really excited to like have a bunch of babies like back to back. But I've really just embraced this, and like I think as she's gotten older, I've really loved just this idea of like getting to soak up this first baby and like enjoy her before like it becomes utter chaos with other babies. If we have, like, I want to have, but you know, we'll see what happens in the future, how that works out when we have them and stuff. And I'm just gonna go day by day. I'm not worried about working out. I'm not worried about getting that muscle back. I'll have time for all of that. So for now, I'm just really soaking up, playing with her, working on her milestones, being here together with them.
Wow, this is mommy, huh? Wow.
I love you. Yeah.
Mommy kiss.
Just concentrating on my recovery and getting her back to sleeping at night. We got like the 4-month regression stuff going on, which is fun. Not the end of the world. She honestly wakes up, goes back to sleep really well. So, you know, no switching of day and night. Just waking up more than she was before. Me looking like this, like 90% of the time. I'm getting fixed up the like 2 times we've gone out, but I'm really happy, honestly. So I don't know. I guess this is just a video for anyone out there that's scared of this concept of the emergency C-section or the hospital stay, or I don't know. I had it. I lived it. I wouldn't do it any other way. I got me and I got a healthy baby. And everything worked out. So she's a chunker. Dun 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 dun. Here, you want this? Take this. There you go. See you. Alright, I guess if you have any questions, put them down below. I'll try to answer them as best as possible. If follow-up videos needed, we could do that. Like, subscribe for more, I guess, if you want. I'm hoping to just put up content that's just actually content. Like, if you're the kind of mom that's, I don't know, I guess the term online is scrunchy. where like you're trying to be as healthy as possible, but you're just hanging in there, and that's kind of us, I guess. Yeah. So, bye guys.